Hi, I'm Shelby. And that is supposed to be Courtney. And we're usually together exploring our past, looking forward to the future, and living for the present, all while learning how to live magically. All right, so today's episode, I am by myself. Courtney had a scheduling conflict, so she had to be at work. But we have a guest today, Kaitlin, who you may know as Wish Upon a Starry Night on Instagram. She is also a friend of ours from the infamous Facebook group. We met 7 or 8 years ago, the same time that I met Courtney. And we've had a lot of trips together, some magical moments that we touch on. And she's going to share a little bit about her life as a influencer, content creator, all of that, and everything that goes into that, which, by the way, this is my shout out to all creators. If you are not a creator and you're just scrolling on Instagram, give those posts for your favorite content creators a like or a save or a share, because it goes a long way. But so today's a really great episode. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you go give her a follow on Instagram at Wish Upon a Starry Night. And this is episode 13. Is it just a chance that what is the word I'm looking for? A coincidence that it ended up being released on the Monday after Taylor Swift released the new album? I don't know. But here is episode 13. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? You look so fancy.
Thank you. I'm in the studio. Last week I wasn't in the studio. I had COVID, but I'm back in the studio and it feels good.
Good.
I feel like we haven't talked in forever, but I briefly mentioned in the intro here that we met through the infamous Candle Facebook group. We have traveled many times together, and we have to touch on something about our travels. Although there's been many magical moments, the most magical, which is probably in my top 3 magical moments of all time, and maybe my top 3 Disney memory of all time, is the spectacle of dancing lights.
It truly was. I would say that definitely the same. I mean, I got engaged at Disney World, so that's a pretty good one, but that was top tier, magical, surprising, and now it can never happen again.
I know. Did you ever, I forget, did you go to Spectacle of Dancing Lights beforehand, or was that your first time?
No, it was both of our first times, and we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, and I think so we went we had to have gone 3 times that trip. It was the last year that they were doing it. But we met up one day with Courtney and her husband AJ. Oh, and Courtney's not here, but we talked on that. And we had a PhotoPass guy just what felt like fell in love with us, and he did a private photo shoot, and we're going to share some of these on the YouTube video. The best photos ever. You'd have to pay now for what we got out of that PhotoPass guy.
He took us to multiple locations, and this was all unprompted by us. We had zero expectations. We just were taking pictures, and because we were literally drunk, we weren't drunk. We were literally drunk on the light.
Yeah, yes.
To be clear, no alcohol was involved.
But you would have thought there was.
Yeah, you would have thought we were on something because we were so bewildered. It was just a wild experience.
He had us,
and then he fed off that.
Yeah, he had us laying down in the street at one point. We were sharing churros. We'll post that one. There's it was so good.
It was awesome. Good.
It had to have, what was that, 6 or 7 years by now? I don't know. It was so good.
Easily. Because the last time me and you went to Disney World was 4 years ago, and it was before that.
Years before that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Crazy. Time flies, man. Time flies. All right. Let's jump into this now. That was the big important thing that we needed to discuss. But, so most people listening know you as Wish Upon a Starry Night on Instagram, but I want to touch a little bit more on who Kaitlin is, not on Instagram. So what do you do when you're not content creating? What is the full-time gig?
Yeah, so I am like a fundraising professional for nonprofit organizations. I started working like in the museum setting, and like arts and cultures institutions. I've worked at aquariums, and then now I work in healthcare. But basically, fundraising. I work with donors that support the organization I work for. So it's very fulfilling, and just like working with people, doing a lot of writing, and that kind of thing. It's a yeah, it's a very fulfilling kind of role to work with nonprofits and raise
Yeah.
money and donor support.
I saw something on Instagram that you posted the other day about like all the jobs that you'd previously had. And I was reading the list and I was like, dang, she like kind of knew what she wanted from the get-go. Like taking what was like, I want to say you did like coat check or something. Did I make that up? Or like
No,
you
I did.
started from the bottom and then you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And I just thought that was really cool. So props to you. And you get to do like cool
Thanks.
events every once in a while, I see on the gram.
Yeah, it's very well. Yeah, don't people like to throw parties for fundraisers?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot changing in the fundraising world, but people love to throw like galas and fancy parties, and it's a nice work perk to be able to go to them
Yeah.
while working. But you get to mix and mingle and eat the food and drink the drinks, so it's fancy.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Okay, and then I also, before we talk about the Instagram, I want to gush a little over Nick and Elliot, maybe some Jack. You and Nick are like high school sweethearts. So cute. And now you have this, I knew you like before you were even engaged, so it's like nice to see full circle of where you are now. You just bought a house. Just tell me everything. Elliot is somehow one.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah, no, Nick and I are, yeah, high school sweethearts. We started dating when I was a junior in high school. He was a senior. And then we dated through college. We went to the same school. I went to Columbia College, Chicago. That's downtown. So I'm from the northwest suburbs of Chicago. And so that's super close. That's pretty much like going to school at home. And so we went to college together. And then we moved to Ohio for him to go to grad school. And I continued working out there, which was it really worked out super nice. Everything just clicked into place for both of us professionally. And so that was really nice. And to have that kind of support. And then we moved back home to Chicago and, yeah, got engaged at Disney World, got married. And yeah, now we have a 1-year-old. That's crazy. We've been together, I think, 14 years.
Oh my goodness.
So almost half our lives. I think next year is when it's half our lives we've been together.
Oh my God, I love that. Did you know, like, when you met him, like, in high school, like, this is the one? Do you think you, like, knew that?
I don't think I could even like think on that level.
Fair.
But I definitely knew he was special. It's funny. I must have gifted him like a moleskin like fancy journal when he went to school, when he went to college because he was like a year ahead of me. And he still has it to this day. And like in the first pages, I wrote like a really long letter, and it was very like, oh my God, it's like so embarrassing to read back, but it was very sweet. And I was very much gushing over him and saying how we're going to be together forever and that kind of thing. So I guess maybe I did.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so. So either that or I read a lot of novels and watched a lot of Twilight. So
hey, whatever it takes, it worked out.
It worked out. It's very cool. Yeah. Like, you know, we see always like on our time hop or like on the Facebook memories, like of us writing on each other's wall, or mostly me writing on Nick's wall, or like this Facebook wall.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, where were you in physics class? And I was like, did you think then that you'd have a little gumball baby upstairs sleeping like 14 years later? So crazy.
Oh, that's great though. Oh, I love your little family. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's jump into, I was saying this was influencer life, but then I thought to myself, do you consider yourself an influencer or more of a content creator or both?
I guess, I mean, it's still influencer in that like realm, but I think the word has more of a stigma these days. So then now content creator
is
better. The new,
yeah,
content creator sounds better. And it is still, I mean, both words are describing what I and other creators do.
Yeah.
So it works. It's just less of a stigma, but I'm sure then content creator will become stigmatized
You're
like in a year. So then there'll be a new word. Who
you're
knows if
so
we'll be
right.
doing
You're
it
so
still?
right.
Who knows?
Okay, so I would like to put it out there. I personally feel like you were a Disney. We're gonna go with the word influencer for now. You were a Disney influencer before Disney influencers were even a thing. I'm saying that, and I'm sticking to my word. And we were friends when you first started Wish Upon a Starry Night, and I don't totally know the story behind it, but like, what made you first want to, I guess, put yourself on Instagram like that?
Well, thank you for saying that. I remember distinctly that I wanted to make a second account to like post all of my Disney stuff and post as many times a day as I wanted because for some reason I was posting like 3 times a day. Don't know why. I just wanted a place to share all my Disney stuff and follow only Disney people and that kind of thing. And then it slowly just kind of transformed into something else. And I think my account's like 7 years old. So it's been a while. It's been through the whole range of Disney Instagram life and it has evolved with that in some ways and hasn't in others. But like I remember then just connecting with other people who then were selling Disney merch. I was
Mm-hmm.
already friends with you. I was already friends with like Kate and Courtney and people that were already kind of like in the small shop side of Disney
Yeah.
Instagram. And then it kind of went from there and I connected with more people and really I credit my success today of just being in the right place at the right
Yeah.
time when things were just starting. Because if I was just starting like last year or even the last couple of
Oh my
years,
gosh. It's
it would have
so
been
hard to grow on
hard.
Instagram now. So yeah. I feel the same way
Insane.
with like Pixie. It was definitely like if I started it any later than I did, I don't know if I would be where I am now. Like
It's wild.
it's hard.
It's so
Um
saturated.
what so this is actually funny. You are the one that helped me come up with B Shelby Lee on my Instagram. But
Yeah.
what is the story behind your handle Wish Upon a Starry Night?
I literally have a note to say that I wanted to claim some credit for that because I remember
All
you
credit
telling me
goes to you.
Pixie Lee, and you're like, well, what should I like make my personal account? And I was like, and then we came up with that. So funny. So I don't think it took me very long. Like I kind of just like thought of it was like, yep, that's it. Like I didn't think about it too hard. I studied art history in college. I worked at art museums up until like 3 years ago, and kind of wanted to do a play on Disney and then I guess a play on art since that was a big part of my life. And so I came like, like Wishing Upon a Star is very Disney,
Hmm.
Pinocchio, that kind of thing. And so then I was like, Wish Upon a Starry Night, like the Van Gogh Starry Night. So
I love
it
it.
was kind of a mashup. And I don't even think most people pick up on the two references. But when they do and they tell me, I'm like,
You're
thank
my
you. That's
people.
awesome.
You're
So,
my people. What was the moment you think in these like what we think is 7 years, possibly more, that made you think like, wait, I'm an influencer. I've done it. I'm an influencer. Like, what was that moment?
I feel like it was a very slow kind of thing, and it's still like kind of slow. And so like I don't even realize it happens like as it's happening, which is kind of crazy. But like what I know that like small shops started reaching out to me and like wanting to send me merch to promote and like wear. So like that was very cool when that started happening, and I loved it because I'm a fierce small shop supporter, still
Hmm.
am, always have been, and always wanted to support. And then also just love everything you all make. So that was definitely like the first things. And then I think I even went back scrolling through my Instagram when I knew we were talking. And I was like, I think the very first like big brand that reached out to me was Tom's
That's what I
shoes.
was
And
going
they,
to remind you if you forgot.
oh, okay. Well, I'm glad it was memorable. Thank you, Shelby. That they reached out to me, emailed me, and were like, hey, we have a new Disney collab. And I think it like was with Cinderella and Snow White. I think those were the first ones. And can we send you some? And then they did. And then I said how cute they were. And then they even sent me like a second pair for my niece Cecilia at the time. And I was just like, oh my God, that is so sweet that they even know I have a niece. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that companies were paying attention to me. And then like so much shows that like they even knew a little bit more about me rather than just looking at my profile and quickly assessing,
Yeah. When I thought of that question, I was like, I wonder if it's the Tom's shoes, because I remember you getting reached out to by Tom's, and I was like, wow, like she made it. She's an influencer.
It is so wild. I mean, and even still, like, I don't get as much offers these days, but when I do, it's just like blows my mind
Yeah,
that,
I feel the
especially
same.
nowadays when there's so many people doing it, it really is very meaningful.
Yeah, it definitely is. What I guess going into that is like what you're saying is like you don't get as many offers. Like, what would you say is the most challenging part of like being an influencer?
I will say I've gotten a lot better at this, and I know that other people, it's definitely harder for them in this area. I would especially think if you're like younger in age too, kind of comes with time, but just being self-conscious when you see people getting offers or if you see people getting sent new product or things and not taking it personally, because I mean, it's just impossible not to take personally. Like I know even this is embarrassing, but I'll say it so that other people know that this happens. Like, so again, I've been doing this for 7 years, most of those years as like an influencer. And, I'll say I got something sent to me last summer from a really popular brand. I was so excited. And then when they had another launch in like the winter time, I didn't get sent it. And I like literally sat down and cried, which is like so frustrating to me that I let it get to me that much that I felt like, wow, I'm not cool enough. I was cool enough at one point. So it's like almost like worse. Like they did gift it to me, and then the next time they decided they didn't want to. And it's a pretty big brand, so it was kind of like even more of like a dagger in the heart.
I do get what you mean, because then you kind of think to yourself like, oh, did I not promote it right? Could I have done it better? Or like, yeah, you just like think of all like the what ifs. But I would like to say, I would think that maybe it's just like they're trying to like reach new markets or something like that. But I also don't know, because I think I know who you're talking about.
You probably know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking about, and I totally get that. But I wouldn't. It's easier said than done to not like get on yourself. But yeah. With that being said, what is the most rewarding part of being an influencer?
I mean, it's like, I feel like this is, for actor, like anyone like kind of in that space where you're putting yourself out. I mean, I guess this can be said for a lot of industries, but like I would think equated to an audition, like you audition for something and either they liked you in that role or they didn't. And so it's like the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. Like they really liked you and you get offered something or a brand that you love reaches out to you without you reaching out to them. That is super cool.
Yeah.
And then, but then the opposite of that is when it doesn't happen, then it's like a low and a low. But I've gotten a lot better that one time recently aside of trying not to take it seriously. Not take it to heart, because I do take what I do seriously. But at the same time, I don't want to not be true to myself. So if a brand doesn't end up liking me, doesn't want to gift to me again, or never reaches out to me in the first place, then that's just what I'm never not going to be myself.
Right.
So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Yeah. And I was just going to say something and now I completely forgot. I will think about it and get back to you. But what is the proudest like brand deal? If you want to call it a deal, I wouldn't even say deal, because I'm not even talking proudest as in like money or like what they offered you. I wanted to say like you're proudest that you were like, wow, they reached out or they got back to me or something.
Tom's is definitely one of those. So definitely meaningful in terms of it being the first time like a big brand reached out to me, but then they did keep reaching out to me for a while, and then the pandemic hit, and I think that's kind of where that relationship, I don't know if it fizzled or that's the other thing too. There's a lot of turnover in the people that work within companies as like the social media influencer, like coordinator. So there's a lot of turnover, and then, people get new lists and that kind of thing. And then there's just like tons and tons of people entering the space every like minute, it Literally. Feels like. So so no hard feelings or anything. Just haven't worked with them in a while. But that was one of the most meaningful. I really enjoyed doing those campaigns because I have always been a customer and I really believed in their mission of that one-for-one mission, which kind of then speaks to the nonprofit professional in me. So I really liked that I was able to combine those worlds. And then I currently still work with Broadway in Chicago, worked with them pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, which is important in the theater world because there was that whole big gap where there was no theater. So I work with Broadway in Chicago, and I'm on their invite list for press openings. I've gotten to do some other like interesting stuff with them aside from just going to shows, and that just makes me so happy because I love theater and supporting theater and artists, and I love seeing shows, so it's like really mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and I love that one for you because you didn't just like stay, and we haven't really talked about it a lot, but you didn't stay in that Disney influencer world. You started to branch out, and because of that, you got opportunities like at home in Chicago of things that you really love, which is Broadway. And so I just think that opportunity is so cool for you. I love every time I get to see that you're at a show and they sent you. That's like you did it. Well,
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's like something where, that happened slowly over the past few years. And so like then, it is easy to kind of like just not take things for granted, but it not register with you how cool that really is and how lucky and honored, I should say, not necessarily luck, but honored I am to do that. So it's just really cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What would you say your dream brand deal would be? Like what's manifested now?
I mean, well, this is another one that I know is hard for some people in this space is like, wouldn't we all love to work with Disney?
Oh,
They don't work with just everyone. It feels like they have their ironclad invite list. I don't know how you get on them, how you get off them. I also don't even live near a park, so that's another hurdle. But like, a cool thing would be if like Disney invited me to like come out and do something.
yeah.
That would be a dream.
Hey, let's
Not
manifest it.
And yeah,
You never
we'll put it
know.
out there.
You never know. And then what would you say is this one's hard, and I'm really interested to hear your answer about this, of what is your advice for somebody that is looking for, I wouldn't really say a career, but looking to put themselves out on Instagram to do this like influencer life?
My advice to them would be to try not to take things too personally. And also, I guess I would say step one would be like assess the reasons why you want to do it. Is it just to get free things? Not that there's anything wrong with that. If that is what it is, then you might have to look at it differently versus wanting to be part of a community or wanting to meet like-minded people, that kind of thing. Because there are different ways you want to go about that. And then also kind of think about the time and the money realistically that you want to invest in it. Because I mean, for me, I stay true to myself, and I don't have a lot of extra time now with having a baby and just having a full-time job. It's just like, how much do I want to put in it? And then how much am I going to then expect to get out of it? So you have to really kind of ask yourself those questions, because it might look easy on the outside, but there are things you have to kind of weigh and consider. And, am I going to hire a professional photographer to take photos of me? Am I going to pack multiple outfits every time I'm going to create content at a venue or like an event or like a festival or something? I don't know. Like when I went to this local thing in Chicago, it was called Jack's Pumpkin Pop-Up, this fun thing in the city with pumpkins. There were people there on the opening night that had like a suitcase with them, and they went in the porta potties and they changed outfits.
Wow.
That is cool for them, but like that's something they had to consider.
Yeah.
I showed up wearing my fun fall outfit, went with my sister-in-law, and we, snapped a few photos, got the goods, and then we enjoyed our night. And that was my expectation. And, that's what I put out there. And if brands and places want to work with me, then that's awesome. If not, I'm not going to spend money and hire a photographer. It's just not what I want to accomplish.
Yeah. It's not your full career. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on something you just said about it, is that you stayed true to yourself. And with that being like how I mentioned before, you didn't stay in the Disney influencer realm. You like moved in like directions of like other things that you wanted to share. And even when having Elliot, you shared that journey, and now you share him, and now you're like mom on Instagram too. And so I think that part of it is like stay true to like I feel that with what I share is like I share of whatever's going on in my life and what I like to do at that current moment. And that could be what I like right now could change next year, and I still share it. And the other thing I wanted to touch on, because you kind of I don't think people realize this about creators and content creators and influencers, is when you get some certain brand deals, it's not just like you create this content and you put it out there. Some of them, you have deadlines that you have to reach, and you have to send them drafts, and you have to get approval and like that kind of stuff. So it's a lot more than just like taking a picture and posting it.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, like right now have had a draft out and I had to do revisions to it to a company and they're just taking forever to get back to me. And I'm kind of like, well, did I just waste my time? And they don't even want to use that or they're gonna make me redo it. And I just don't have the time to do that. So that's also why I take in less deals as well.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work. And so those creators who are pumping out content all the time, high quality, like I know the work we know you do too, Shelby, like the work that goes into them. And that's, I mean, props to them.
Yeah. And I also, before we end on the influencer life, I want to say this about you because I have reached out to you before and been like, this company reached out to me, which was like crazy. And they offered me this, but like, how much am I supposed to like ask for? Like, I don't know how to value myself. And I just want to say, we're not going to touch on money here, but like you do value yourself and you like have done your research to know like what you should say and like props to you. So just, I want to give you a little shout out there because you helped me there.
Thanks. I appreciate you seeking my advice. That's always nice.
You are doing it right. I hope you know that. And this isn't supposed to, this is like your side hustle. And I think you have nailed your side hustle. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get into the fun stuff. We're going to do a couple of magical moments because this is a little bit of a magical podcast. How long have you been visiting Disney? I believe it's been like forever. But
yeah, forever. I think I was like 18 months old or something the first time I went. So
you were born into it. You had no choice.
Nope.
And we kind of said, but what's your favorite memory in the parks?
Definitely getting engaged in front of Cinderella's castle. Pretty top tier. And I know that you helped to make that special. And I know Nick reached out to you. Sorry, I didn't mention that before, but Nick reached out to Shelby to like get her advice, and it was pretty magical. And even for another surprise trip, which is another favorite moment, a couple of years later, then Nick surprised me for a birthday trip, and Shelby helped to ensure that he got all the right fast passes, that he picked the right day for the holiday party, and all of that. So that was amazing. That was a great trip. He brought my mom too. Magical. And then, yeah, definitely Shelby, we've had some really magical moments in the parks, including like, you know, wearing our matching shirts together, yes. People asking if we're sisters. But
we've gotten the sister
the spectacle
comment.
Of dancing lights.
We've gotten that sister comment like multiple times.
I mean, we both have brown hair and we're wearing matching shirts, so that makes you sisters.
If you want to know how to be a sister, just wear a matching shirt. Preferably from Pixie Lane Co., please.
Absolutely. It's a must.
And when is your next trip? I know it's coming up.
Yes. After 3 long years, I'm returning to the parks. We're going in like 2.5 weeks to Disneyland because we're joining a family trip in Palm Springs. And the rule is if you are traveling within an hour or two of any Disney park, you have to go to the Disney park. Duh. So we're flying into Anaheim and going to spend a couple days there and then go to Palm Springs. So it's going to be magical. And then hopefully Disney World, that'll be over 4 years hiatus and we'll be back hopefully early 2023.
Nice. I can't wait to see all the pictures of Elliot's first trip. That is going to be, you're going to have some new magical moments. I know that for sure. Yeah. Okay. Definitely. And then before we get your tip to how to live magically, I just have a couple of rapid fire questions for you. So what is your favorite park?
Magic Kingdom.
Same. And your favorite resort?
So I've only ever stayed at a Valley Resorts, but I would imagine it'd be the Poly.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Must ride at each park. So we'll start with Magic Kingdom.
The People Mover, for sure.
Of course. Animal Kingdom.
The Safari. Yep. Love me some giraffes.
Yep. Oh, remember we have a really good selfie with the giraffes. Was it with the giraffes? Or
it was the giraffes because we were sitting in the back row and they were like walking behind us. So good.
Pro tip, ask for the back row. Epcot.
Oh gosh, I feel like I haven't been there in forever. Oh, Frozen. That's a good one.
Frozen is a good one. And then lastly, Hollywood Studios, which has changed a lot since you've been there.
I know. I don't even know Hollywood Studios anymore. But Tower of Terror, though, that is when we got stuck on Tower of Terror during one of our trips. And in pitch black, hot at like the top. That was wild.
It was like right before we were about to drop, we got stuck, and then we had to actually take the elevator, the
Real one.
the real elevator down. We were like, oh boy, they did let us ride again, but that was wild. Because it's like in the dark of like where you're about to drop, so it's like we could have dropped at any second. But we were just
we had
stuck.
no clue. It was pitch black. It was insane.
It was insane. Okay, and then lastly, before I let you go, can you give me your tip on how to live magically? Something that you've learned throughout your life that you can share with all of us.
Definitely stay true to yourself. Be kind and humble and generous to people, but to still be yourself and to hope that people like you for that. And if not, then move on.
1000% agree. Share what you want to share. Don't listen to what others have to say.
Absolutely.
I love that. And then obviously everybody can find you on Instagram at Wish Upon a Starry Night. Is there any other platforms that we should be following you on, or is that it?
Jack is upset that he didn't get asked any questions. He's crawling. But yeah, Instagram, that's where I'm at. I am not on TikTok.
It's hard, man.
Or any other app that I don't even know about.
I feel that. Instagram for life. And then one more thing, in case anybody's listening, she is I promise you, for a small shop perspective, she is a 10 out of 10, like, brand partner person, as I can say, because you have been doing it for Pixie for so long now, and you never miss a drop. I don't even have to tell you that they're happening. You must just, like, have it saved in your phone or something. So you are so good at that. So I just need to give you a shout out there. But other than that, that's all I got for you.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining. I would say us, because Courtney's usually here, but joining me. And now go snuggle your baby. Post some more pictures of him, because I just love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kaitlin. Bye.